Thank you all for joining today. My name is Matt and I'm the Business Plus Coordinator wherever you're tuning in from. Thank you for coming to this special Business Plus seminar today where we will be helping to empower you to choose your major with confidence, whatever degree that is. Now, I'd like to start by acknowledging the traditional owners of the land on which we meet today. For me, that is the Yugambeh language group and the Kumaberi people on the Gold Coast. And I would like to also pay my respects to elders past and present and extend that to all Indigenous Australians. A little bit of housekeeping today. This session is being recorded, including the chat via transcript as well. So to ensure this session runs smoothly, please keep your audio and video muted. At the end, you will get a chance to digitally raise your hand and ask a question of our speakers and myself. But until then, I'd ask that you have any questions, just try and keep them towards the end and we can try and get to as many as we can. If you can address it to which speaker you have that question, let me know. Otherwise, if your question is a bit more individual, it may be that you're better off contacting a member of our support team directly, which we will give you the details for later. So Business Plus is all about encouraging and supporting you as business students to get involved with additional activities to help enrich your student university experience and support your professional and personal development, but most importantly, your employability. And today acts as what we call an enrich activity, a co-curricular opportunity to help advance your professional development and help guide you towards that first career or the next career via helping you choose your major and that career path. So pat yourselves on the back for coming today and please make the most of it with the speakers that we do have here. They come from various parts of the university and have all got something really great to tell you to hopefully help you answer that question. And for those of you that are completing the Business Plus portfolio and their workbook, please add this session to your Enrich section as well. I will post a link shortly if you're not quite sure where to find that again. So a bit of an overview for today's session. Today is all about helping empower you to answer that question. How do I choose my major? Students have been asking it since well before I was at university and still do to this day. We have an amazing amount of resources and people available to help, but that question is so much bigger than one person. So tried to bring a few together to answer it from a few different angles and help you to go away today and do a bit of work and speak to more people to help you come up with the answer. So today you'll hear from our incredible program director, Dr. Anita Love, who leads our postgraduate suite of business courses, and she's also been the undergraduate Bachelor of Business program director. So a really good academic to hear from around here, around this place with some of her insights and things that she's seen over the years at Griffith. I've also invited Ms. Lauren Caramello, who is a psychologist and senior career development consultant for the business school. Lauren's going to go into a bit of the science of that decision making, if you will, and look at some of the strategies to help you choose your major and plan your career. We've also got one of our Business Plus ambassadors, Cara Austin, who is going to share her experiences around choosing her double major and what opportunities that led to, just to give you a few ideas from someone who has trod the path very recently. And finally, we've got a swag of our incredible program support officers today, PSOs they call themselves. Lainey Groundwater is going to do a bit of a live demonstration with Cara as well, just to help you find your way if you're not quite sure how to make your way and find some really important information to help you get started. Now, as I said, you will get the opportunity to ask heaps of questions today of myself and our speakers, and we are here today to help you answer that. So let's begin. Now, before I hand you over to our first speaker, I would encourage you to tell us in the chat where you have joined us from, how you found out about our session with the poll, and we will be asking questions and giving you links during as well. So please engage with our chat. And as I said, keep your audio and everything muted there, and we will give you a chance if you wish to talk later. And I also do have an evaluation survey, which I will post a link for in a second. And we're going to be giving away some vouchers randomly next week. So if you enjoyed the session or had something to say, please fill that out. Any feedback helps us to improve our future sessions. So I'll now hand it over to Anita. Welcome.
Thanks so much, Matt. I hope everyone can hear me okay. And thank you for the lovely introduction, Matt. My name is Anita Love, and as Matt indicated, I am the Program Director for our Postgraduate Business Suite of programs. But between 2014 and 2018, I was our Undergraduate Bachelor of Business Program Director. From 2018 onwards, I've been the Program Director for our Master of Business, and similarly to the undergraduate BBiz, the Master of Business has in excess of 15 different majors for you to choose from. And so I do have a great deal of experience in speaking to students about their choice of majors. And in fact, when I did my own undergraduate degree, I had some changes to my pathway along the way as well. And what I initially thought I had come to study changed along the way. I think regardless of whether you're studying business or whether you're studying perhaps an undergraduate degree in humanities, in the arts, or in the sciences or in health, if there is a range of different options for you to choose from in terms of your major, it may be that you are a little uncertain about which major to choose. And I know that some students come in with a major in mind, and they are quite certain that they have come to study that degree because that specialisation, that major, is of interest to them. But for other students, they come in and they're interested in the broad area of business, but they're not quite sure which major within the degree they might choose from. Or sometimes it's the case that you come in and you study a couple of different courses and something piques your interest that you didn't anticipate. And so suddenly you start to look at what other options might be available to you. So one thing that I would mention is that if that's the case for you and you're a little uncertain or confused, you are definitely not alone. This is something that many students experience, and I think one of the real riches and benefits of an undergraduate university degree is the breadth of choice that is available to you and all of the different options that you encounter along the way. And that's the case for our postgraduate Master of Business too. So when you're thinking about your major choice and what pathway you might choose through your degree, there are a few different things that you should consider. So firstly, you need to be mindful of the structure of your degree. Some degrees only allow for a single major. They are quite restricted. Perhaps there is accreditation or there is an extended major that you are choosing, and that may occupy a lot of the courses within your degree. So you should be very aware of the structure of your degree and whether it does allow you to choose one or possibly even two majors. That capacity for multiple majors is something that is really interesting and really, I think, important in a lot of our degrees, because if you then start to look at the different combinations of majors that you could choose, that really is a way that you can go about personalising your degree so that you stand out from the others that you graduate with. Now, when you commence your degree, particularly our undergraduate business degree, there are so many students that you will see in some of those first year courses. And so you might assume that there are hundreds of you that are doing the same degree. But actually, your choice of major or major combination, and even the electives that you choose around that as well, really set you apart and personalise your degree for your own career pathway. So it's really important that you do take the time to look at your degree structure, to consider what capacity there is for multiple majors, to think about whether or not there is an extended major or some other consideration that you need to take into account when you're looking at how many courses you have available. And also there are considerations too in terms of whether you need to or you wish to do any electives or perhaps an internship or two in your degree as well. So I would really urge you to start planning very early and to look at what you can do within your program and start researching the various options so that you've got some idea of exactly what you can do within that degree that you've chosen. Now, there is so much opportunity within your degree to do so many amazing things. You can do lots of interesting courses, you can do electives, you can do internship programs and all sorts of amazing things. But there are some challenges along the way that you should be mindful of as well. And so a few things that you should be aware of and some common pitfalls that I encounter and some of our project teams, or sorry, our program teams encounter when students come to us with concerns and questions. are up here on your slide. So just a few things to be mindful of and to prepare for. So firstly, poor planning can often restrict the availability of choice that you have. If you haven't taken the time to look at the different options that are available to you and looked at the different majors and so on, then you might find that as you proceed through your studies, that some options are no longer available to you. And that could be because you have an extended major, and some of your early choices may mean that the only courses you can fit in your degree are courses within that major. Or it could be that there are certain courses that are only available in particular trimesters of study or on particular campuses, and then they become unavailable to you if you, are too close towards the completion of your degree. So it's a really good idea to plan early, remembering that you need some flexibility in that planning in case you do change your mind as you proceed through your degree. But having an idea of those few majors that you are particularly interested in, when courses are available, and planning for all of that can be really useful in ensuring you still have opportunities for choice towards the end of your program as well. Now, if you change your options too late, that can mean that sometimes you may be, it may be that there is a course that's not available. So for example, if you get towards your third year and you suddenly think, oh, I might like to do this major as well, as a second major perhaps, then if you haven't planned, then you might find that you have required courses that are left towards the end of your degree, and you haven't allowed enough time to pick up those courses that you need for that second major. So make sure that you're not changing your options too late as well. And again, that comes back to good planning. You should also be aware of things like prerequisites for particular courses, and there are some in our business degrees, but particularly in the health and the sciences as well, there are prerequisites for particular courses that you should be mindful of so that you're not prevented from enrolling in subsequent courses in later years. And it's also then really important that you have an understanding of your degree requirements. In most of our undergraduate degrees, there is a limit to the amount of first year courses that you can do. And so you should be careful in your selection of those. Many of our undergraduate degrees have 6 courses that you're required to do in your first year, but others have different structures. So you should be really clear on the program structure of the degree in which you're enrolled. There is usually some capacity for you to undertake a couple of introductory or first year courses in areas that perhaps are not required for your program, but just be mindful that there is a maximum. So make sure that you have an understanding of those requirements for your degree. In other degrees, there may be other requirements as well in terms of core courses you're required to complete. There may be second or third year courses that are required for your degree. And there might also be a minimum of a certain number of third year courses, for example, that you need to do as well. So again, much of that comes back to planning and ensuring that you have planned well for what's to come. The other thing that you should consider too is the impact of credit. And if you have come in with some credit, perhaps you've changed degrees along the way and you've gained some credit for an earlier degree, just be mindful too of the impact that that credit may have on what courses you have remaining and on things like those maximum amount of first year courses, the required courses in your degree and so on. So sometimes we find that students who come in with some credit may have less elective options available to them, for example. Again, the importance of planning couldn't be emphasised more thoroughly. Now, there are lots of people who can help you, though, as you start to think about what your options are as you progress through your degree. So firstly, your degree requirements are your friend. Make sure that you are really clear in understanding what is required of you within your degree and what all of those different requirements are in terms of the required courses and some of those minimum and maximum requirements for, say, first year and third year courses. You should make a plan for your degree as early as possible and make sure that then you have plotted out for yourself what courses are available in what trimester, the majors that you're interested in studying, and see if you can then plot a path through in terms of the things you think you will possibly enroll in, not only this year, but next year and beyond. And yes, things change from time to time, so you will, need to be flexible perhaps. I think we've all learned a lot about pivoting and being flexible in the last couple of years. But having a plan, as long as it's a flexible plan, is important too. Now, there are lots of people you can also go to for help or advice in terms of your program planning and your major choices as well. Your program directors are always more than happy to help you, so that's often your first port of call. You can also go and speak to the team at Student Connect if you're at all concerned about your program planning or your degree requirements and so on. So Student Connect, and the link's now visible in our slides here too. Thanks for that. And are a good point of contact for advice. Also, we would suggest that you join a student club. If you're interested in doing a major in accountancy or in marketing or in human resource management or whatever the case may be, if you join the student club associated with that degree, you'll have lots of opportunities to explore career options, to talk to other students for their advice, and to get a real sense of what is entailed in that major and where it can take you. So joining a student club can be really helpful too. You'll be hearing from others in our careers team a little later, but attending or watching a Business Plus Careers in Focus seminar, and again, the links in the slides, can be useful too. There are some great resources in there where there have been panel discussions on different majors and different career outcomes from those majors with industry speakers and academics and so on as well. So keep an eye out for those. They can be really helpful in helping you learn a little bit more about the majors and helping you refine your choice. And finally, I couldn't emphasise more the importance of our discipline leaders in our undergraduate business degree. You may have similar types of people in other degrees here at Griffith, but in our business area, we have some staff who are specialist experts in those different disciplines and that you can go to for advice about the major, about career pathways and so on. Now, you might want to jot down a couple of those names that appear on your screen here, but there is also a link in your slides as well, and you'll be able to be provided with information about who the various experts are that you can speak to about your major choices. So we call them discipline leaders, but they really are the discipline experts in the field, and they're more than happy to talk to students and offer advice. So I would urge you to reach out to them if you have any questions about those specific majors. But that's about it from me for today. I would hand over next to Lauren Caramella. The fabulous Lauren is from our Careers and Employment Service, and she really is an expert on helping you to identify career pathways and what's best for you. So I'll hand over to you, Lauren, to talk a little further.
Thanks so much. Thanks, Anita. And yeah, it's great to sort of have that really emphasised around that planning and really knowing the possibilities is so powerful in terms of making good choice. So as Matt mentioned, I'm a psychologist and a career development consultant with the Careers and Employment Service at Griffith. And in that capacity, I help students a lot of the time with making really good career choices and career decisions. And quite often that involves choosing majors as well. And what I would say from that experience is that it can sometimes feel a little bit overwhelming in terms of trying to make a really effective and good decision around this, because there is lots of information that you need to integrate and think about to be able to do this. So, and some of the mistakes that I see students making when they're trying to make these decisions is that they might actually make a really fast decision just to kind of ease that discomfort of I don't know what I need, I should do. You know, everyone's asking me what I'm going to be doing. I should know what I'm going to do, and therefore making a decision that's fairly rapid and not as well considered as it could be. And what I'm going to do today is really talk about how to make a well considered decision in that regard. The other problems that I see are when students make a decision based on limited factors, and that might be really just asking, well, what are the jobs with the strongest future growth, you know, and trying to make a decision based purely on that variable, or on potentially salary expectations. And the challenges of that being that sometimes that doesn't always marry up with interests, it doesn't always marry up with capabilities or strengths, and that can be a challenge as well. But the really great news, and I want to reassure you in this regard, is that the professional and technical services is the strongest future growth occupation possible. It's in front of every other occupational classification. So by simply gaining your degree, you are putting yourself in a very nice position in terms of being able to access occupations that have good future growth ahead of them. And also particularly within the business sector, there are a number of areas that have really strong and really good growth. The other really great news is that in terms of what major you choose, it is incredibly useful to make an informed and wise decision. But if you don't get it right exactly the first time, that you need to take the pressure off yourself in that regard, and be aware that actually it might not be as critical as you think in terms of the major that you choose, because there is flexibility there. As you've heard, you can do double majors. In addition to that, you can actually do postgraduate studies that can shift direction. You can also do short courses, and industry is very interested in more than just your major. So they're very interested in your experience and what you bring as well. So whilst it's really, really good and effective to make a planned and considered decision, I'm going to talk about how to do that. If you don't get it right the first time, that's okay. There are plenty of options and plenty of ways to work around that. But having said that, really making an informed choice involves a bit of a process. Now, what you see in front of you is really the steps that you can take in making a good career decision. So the first, and really this looks like a linear process in that it's numbered 1 to 5, but it really is much more cyclic than that, hence the image on the slide there. But a really good place to start is to have an awareness of what really motivates you and what matters and what's important to you, because that tends to relate very much to workplace satisfaction and also success as well. So if you find a career that is aligned with what you really value, what really is really important to you and what really matters to you in life, what your strengths might be, how your personality works best and in what contexts and what environments, and also potentially using existing skills that you already have and how that then aligns, that can be a really great starting point to making a good decision. So I have a slide next which actually goes into some resources. So there's a whole host of resources here to help you with exploring some of those things if you want to know a bit more about what your interests might be or what your values might be, what your personality strengths might be, and also your skills. So I would encourage you to have a look at some of those options and use those resources if you want to understand yourself a little bit better in that regard. But if we go back to the previous slide, the next step in the process is really around matching that awareness of your strengths and skills and interests and personality style with what's actually out there. And so that's really identifying what kind of roles can I get from particular majors. And the slide next goes into a little bit of where I can find out information about what kinds of occupations would I get if I do a major in finance, or what kind of occupations would I get if I do a major in marketing, etc. So there's a whole host of resources to help you with that, which I'll go through in a moment. But what you need to know is also what it actually looks like in the workplace. And so it's kind of digging deeper into that and talking with people about, well, I understand that, you know, I can do an analyst role from finance major. What does that role actually look like? What would I do on a day-to-day basis? And getting a broader and a more in-depth understanding of those opportunities, and then being able to compare that with what you know about yourself and evaluating and prioritising which of those options might be worthy of further investigation for yourself. So what I like to suggest people do is to have what we call focused flexibility flexibility. What that means is that if you say, well, I'm happy to do anything, it's really, really hard to go and just do anything. You actually need a little bit of direction. You need a little bit of awareness of being able to choose the right opportunities and the right information for you. So it's really good to narrow it down to maybe 2 to 3 possibilities, and then to have the flexibility that it's not just one thing that I must do. However, I have the flexibility of, you know, the future labour market is unpredictable, and so therefore I've got a range of possibilities here in that regard. The next step in the career decision-making process is really to be taking action, and that is to test out the ideas that you have and to test out the options that you might want to explore. And I'll talk a little bit more about that in a moment. And then the last part of that process is really reflecting and reevaluating based on all of that you have done before. And you might actually cycle back through that process a few times before you're really clear about what your first preferences and your second preference and your third preference might be. So if we just flip across to the slide after that one, thank you. We've got, I'll just navigate forward to researching your options. So there's a whole host of resources out there to help you with exploring what can I do from a whole range of different majors. So the career options from my major is a careers and employment service resource, and there's a link to that there that will take you to a guide which basically steps you through based on graduate feedback. So graduates are surveyed 3 months after they've graduated to find out what kind of roles they're in and what jobs they're doing, so in what industries, etc. So that information is on those career options guides to give you a bit of a sense for, well, if I do this major, what kind of jobs am I likely to be looking at here? Another really great resource is the Job Outlook website, because often we'll get questions around, well, what are the future prospects of these particular roles and what kind of salary might I expect to get from that? So the Job Outlook website looks at indicating lots of different careers and the kinds of skills and the kinds of duties that you might do within those careers, as well as giving you ideas about for the next 8 years, what's the growth look like in that regard, and also what's the industry actually look like as well. You can drill down a little bit more into that in terms of salary and growth trends, and the SEEK website has a really good link there to be able to explore that a bit further. So I've just put that there for you. And if you want to explore employment projections a bit more, there's a link there for you to explore that as well. I'd also suggest that you actually start looking at industries and companies that you might want to work for and going onto their websites and finding out more about what they do. And quite often they've got really great careers information on the websites as well. I can't emphasize enough the value of actually talking to people and to get ideas. So as Anita mentioned, your discipline leads can be a really great source of information around what can I get from this major, what are other people doing from this major, etc. So that's really helpful. Your lecturers in particular subjects, and particularly when they have that industry focus. Professional associations are incredibly useful. Events, as Matt has indicated in the links there, the industry insights information is incredibly valuable, and going along to any kind of events that your school runs where their employers come along to that is really helpful. LinkedIn contacts can be really, really useful in terms of giving you an insight and an understanding of how someone's career path has progressed and what kinds of organisations tend to employ people in particular fields. And I would also suggest, even though you might not be thinking about your job search at this point in time, you're still trying to decide what you might want to do, actually go and have a look at job ads for roles that pique your interest, to give yourself a bit more of an understanding of what they actually involve and what kind of skills and abilities they're actually looking for. And if all of this becomes a little bit overwhelming and you feel like you are struggling with that decision, rest assured you can come and speak to one of our career consultants and get some support in going through this process and actually making that decision. And you can make a careers appointment online from our website. There are links from our website to be able to do that. So I think that was the... No, one more thing that I did want to say is in terms of testing out your options, it's really, really valuable, incredibly valuable to be able to experience different options actually in the workplace. Now, work experience is really, really valuable in that regard, and there's lots of different ways that you might do work experience. However, volunteering is one potential way to get experience in different occupations, and just one idea of that is a website called Queensland Volunteering, where you can go in and actually have a look at different volunteering options, which are much broader than you would actually think. And they do look at volunteers from different professional industry areas as well. So very worthwhile going to have a look and explore what kind of opportunities are available for me. Absolutely getting a work integrated learning opportunity or doing a virtual internship really can give you a very good insight into what it's actually like to work in a particular role or in a particular industry. So that can be really helpful. Another thing that can be really useful to do is join the industry mentoring program and get matched with an industry mentor who can actually show you and guide you into what it's like within their career and their organisation. And another step that is not well utilised but incredibly helpful is to actually speak to people doing the roles that might interest you, to ask them, well, what are the challenges, what are the highlights, what do you recommend that I do to build a career in this particular area? And I've provided a link there to help you with how to go about that process as well. So lots and lots to consider, but I would like to reassure you that that by doing this degree, you are putting yourself into really good stead. By doing that planning, by doing that considered decision making and research, you're really going to put yourself in a really good position in terms of choosing an effective major and something that you really will be able to connect with and enjoy. So I wish you all the best with that. And I think I'm handing over to, sorry.
Cara, yeah.
Cara, thank you.
Thanks, Lauren. Yes, we'll now hear from Cara, who's one of our double degree business students. She wants to share some of her personal insights and experiences. She gets to the very end of her degree. Hi, Cara.
Hello. Can you guys hear me okay? I don't know if my computer's working, so.
Yes, we can hear you perfectly.
Okay, perfect. So do you have my slides there? No? Perfect. So hello everyone, my name is Cara and I am a 4th year Bachelor of Business student. I'm in my final year of undergraduate studies. So I'm here to just tell you a little bit about my majors that I'm doing. So it's not listed there, but initially I was actually doing a double degree of business and photography. Basically went into uni thinking I'm going to have my own photography business and that's going to be it. Clearly now that's definitely not the case. And it does really show what Lauren and Anita said, that like testing the waters and seeing what your options are is a really good thing to do. And that's what I did. And that's how I chose the event management major afterwards. So I chose the event management major mainly because I've always had an interest in the organisation of events and functions and how they're planned and all that. And I also found out that it was pretty surprising that the events management major includes a lot of practical information that can be transferred to basically any kind of business. So like budgeting, timelines, scheduling and staffing, and then major organisational skills obviously is a big part of event planning. I was already doing the management major and just continued with that after I dropped the photography. So I have always enjoyed managing teams and working with people. That's just me. And the management major includes like a really broad variety of topics. So again, it can be transferred to like any kind of business. So I sort of just did it as a general good one to do. So this includes, decision making, team building, ethical practices, and entrepreneurship. So yeah, just providing a really solid knowledge base through different management areas, which I thought was really interesting from the beginning, pretty much. So some opportunities that I have taken advantage of, I haven't been able to really take advantage of too many opportunities through the uni, which I'm pretty disappointed about at the end of my degree. So I would definitely recommend, if you can, to join a club, do all that. But I have been able to sort of connect my degree to my work. So they've been really, really supportive in that regard, and giving me a lot of opportunities in the store to sort of be a supervisor manager role to help with my studies. So that included like managing various departments. I train basically every person that comes in through the system on services. And yeah, I just really, really happy with that. So if you can like complement your work to your degree, that was just a really big help to me. And of course, everybody likes to get paid at the same time. It's a really good thing. So yeah, I do highly recommend getting involved with uni life. I've really only got involved by becoming a Business Plus ambassador, but I do really wish I did join a club earlier, 100%. So my postgraduate plans are basically I have an internship lined up for next trimester at a Brisbane hotel, so I'm really excited about that. I'm going to be doing some events planning there, so fingers crossed that takes me somewhere. And yeah, as it says there, I'm aiming to secure a position in the events industry, like hotels or convention centres, all those kinds of things. I'm also planning on doing an MBA, most likely in conjunction with that. So I might be seeing Anita soon about postgraduate studies. But yeah, that's pretty much me. I hope that, you know, my presentation partner with Anita's and Lawrence has showed you guys that just because you're going to uni thinking one thing doesn't mean you're going to come out the end with the same result. So yeah, I definitely can relate to that.
Thank you, Cara. I think it's really interesting to hear from students and to know that not everyone knows the answers, but getting involved and trying to do as much as you can, and then trying to find ways to leverage what you are doing outside of uni, like even if it is working in retail or working somewhere else, to try and leverage those skills and build as much of that experience as you can before you graduate is really important. There's so many resources and opportunities that you have for free as students. And once you leave, you sort of lose a lot of the opportunity to do that once you're in the real world. So it's good to see students like Cara to do taking advantage of that, and it's definitely not too late. So next up, I wanted to introduce Lainey Groundwater, who's one of our PSOs, and then I will welcome Cara back. They're going to do a bit of a tandem live demonstration for you, and then we'll get to the Q&A. So I'll hand it over to you, Lainey.
Thanks, Matt. My colleagues and I are passionate about empowering our students to be self-sufficient in their program planning and to independently navigate their program structure and follow degree requirements. So with this in mind, I'm going to talk about how to identify majors in your program, which courses are in your major, and how best to map out your major courses from a planning perspective, keeping in mind prerequisites and credit that you may have received. And we will also show you how to add or change a major in MyGriffith. So without any further ado, I'd like to welcome Cara back to the screen, as Cara has kindly agreed to share her MyGriffith profile and provide some helpful tips and tricks to complement our demonstration today. Thanks, Cara. Your support is greatly appreciated. Before we get underway, please keep in mind that what you will see in the demonstration is relevant for Cara's program structure. So it will look different to your specific degree requirements and program structure. And MyGriffith, it's customised to your specific program, so please follow the requirements as they are displayed in MyGriffith. And throughout our presentation, we will put some notes in the chat on how to plan your program, how to access your transcript, as well as Cara's program plan example that she's sharing. And we have some templates that we've prepared to help you with your program if you'd like to use them also. So let's start. So Cara, how do you know what majors are offered in your program?
So I will share my screen. Oh, and so everybody will be familiar with this. This is just your MyGriffith page. You can go to My Program just over here. And if you go to Manage Enrollment and then Plan Courses, just be aware this is for trimester 2 2022, so that's just my courses there, don't worry about that. Down all the way down the bottom, you've got the majors here that you can choose from, got a big list.
Excellent. Thanks, Cara. That's helpful. And it's really important to only select majors from the list of available majors in your program. So we now know where we can find out what majors are available. Cara, can you show us how to find which courses are in the major?
Yeah, so you just hit the little plus arrow here and it shows you all the courses, and some of them are available from 2022, so it also notes that in everything. And some of them here are from 2021 because I had to do those the other year.
Sure, thanks. And within the Bachelor of Business program, we have a no major option, and that's for students who do not wish to complete a major. And for the no major option, students need to complete 6 courses from a specified no major list of courses. Cara, could you show where the no major option is displayed?
Yep, so it's just underneath the majors list, and again just hit the down arrow and the plus, and it'll come up with courses that you can choose from in a list here.
Okay, so not all courses are offered every trimester on every campus. So knowing this detail is an important part of your program planning process to know where and when the courses are offered. How do you find out, Cara, where and when courses are offered?
Yeah, so when is pretty easy. It just says in the column here, trimester 1, 3, or 2. And then if you want to find out where, you have to add the course. This one I've clicked on, it only says online. I'll show you a different one. Oh, don't want to do that. It shows here whether it's at Gold Coast, Nathan, or online for this particular one. There can also be Logan or any other campus.
That's helpful. And just going back a screen where we see add course and not available, are you able to explain what this means?
Yeah, it's just because, as you can see here, we're now in planning for trimester 2 of 2022, and the ones that aren't available here, they're for trimester 1. So can't add it because it's not available at this time in the year.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. Thank you. So a valuable and important process is to map out your degree in terms of what courses to do when and how it will all be sequenced to complete your program in your expected time frame. Cara, can you share with us how you plan when you will complete courses and what things you consider?
Yep. So this is my planning. It's a little bit old school, as in I just write it out. But this is for my 4th year in particular, just here. So basically all I've done is written out what's available throughout the whole year for trimester 1 and trimester 2. And then I've written it out again for trimester 1 and trimester 2 and highlighted exactly which course code I'm going to do. And plus an internship next trimester, as I said before, as well.
Awesome. There's certainly nothing wrong with old school. Pen and paper can work very well.
Yeah.
And can you talk through also how you refer to your transcript to compare when you are doing your planning?
Yep. So again, you just go back to my Griffith. Let me just go back a bit. If it wants to load, there we go. And again, just in my program, you just scroll down and it says get an academic transcript over here on the right hand side. And then just click on the report type. Unofficial transcript is all you need to see at the moment, and then just view report, and it should come up with a PDF if the internet's my friend. If not, I do have it open here already.
Oh, well done.
So yeah, that's how you find your academic transcript. It does usually come up with a PDF. My internet's just a bit slow today, so I had it ready here. You do also have to consider in your transcripts, just make sure you look at the course codes that you've already done so you don't do one again.
Yeah, great advice, Cara. And in terms of what you've just mentioned about the courses that you've done, but also prerequisites, incompatible courses, perhaps courses that have had a name change. Is there a course that you can take us to that you've had to consider those things with your planning?
Oh, there it is. Yeah, definitely. So again, if we just go back to managing enrollment, and I'll just go to plan courses again. And it was one of my management majors, so I'll just jump in there. I believe it was quality management I had to consider that for. So if you want to look at course information or anything like that, you just click on the course code here and it'll bring it up. And just down the bottom here, it's prerequisites. And then it says nil incompatible. So if there's anything that's incompatible, it'll come up there. And that also shows the different course codes that certain courses have been.
Yeah. Thanks, Cara. Really great things to see the things that you need to consider when you're planning out your degree. I'd also like to let everybody know that the enrolment system doesn't stop you from enrolling in courses that you've already completed or received credit for. So very, very important to regularly check your transcript when you're doing your planning. So Cara, with your Bachelor of Business program, you initially chose to undertake the management major and then you added event management a touch while later. Can you show us how you go into your My Griffith and change or add a major?
Yep. So again, you have to be in manage enrollment in this initial screen. It says up here, change your major. Oh, that didn't work. Change your major, and you basically just click on that. And up the top here, it says update my major or minor. I hope you guys can see that. And then click on what program you want to select. Obviously, I've got two, but most of you will just have one. And continue, and then you can update it here and whether it's a major or a minor in this list as well.
Excellent. So with that in mind, if you do change your major partway through, you've started a major and done some courses and you've changed your mind, some things to consider are that it may take you longer to complete your degree, and also some of those courses may not count towards your degree, and like I said, more time and more money to be doing additional courses, and you may also be doing a double degree and you may not have room for a double major for one of those degrees in your double degree. So things to keep in mind. So if you are thinking of changing your major partway through, we recommend you reach out to get some support and guidance from Student Connect. Thanks, Cara. Thanks so much for your commitment and time today, and thanks for sharing not only your My Griffith profile, but your experience as a Griffith student successfully navigating your way through your program structure. So thank you so much, and I wish you best with your studies and also that great internship. So just finishing up, if you require any guidance and support, please reach out to Student Connect. We're putting those details into the chat. And also thank you for your attention, and I wish you all your best with your success with your studies. Thank you.
Slide there. You can contact us, Business Plus at Griffith, if you have any questions about today's event, or if you're not quite sure how to get in touch with one of our speakers and I can connect you. Otherwise, there's a link for the survey again. If there's something that we can do better, please let us know. Great. Laney's just given Kelly the details. There you go, Joan Carlini. Thank you, Laney. I appreciate that. I think that's it. Unless there's any other questions, thank you all for coming. We really appreciate it. Sorry for the technical issues there with Whiteboard. Sometimes Teams has a mind of its own, but we hope you enjoyed today's session and do feel a little bit more empowered to help make that major decision for yourself. And otherwise, have a lovely day. I hope to see you again soon. Thank you all.